Okay, how we doing, everybody? Welcome in to Payoff Pitch. Here we are, exclusively available on the Action Network YouTube channel. Brendan Glasheen joined by Anthony DeBundo, Sean Zerillo, perhaps Sean Zerillo's production assistant as well, chiming in from behind. We encourage the audience. See, there we go. There's the answer we need. 10-game slate on the diamond today, including 7 day games. A lot to get to before lock and before you have an opportunity to get some bets in. We'll get you set with picks, best bets. As always, feel free to ask any questions in the YouTube chat. We'll get to as many as possible. But first, listen up. Humans, dogs, cats, if you want to get involved, we have a contest available, everybody. The contest is you need to pick the player who hits a home run today in Major League Baseball. The first player to hit a home run, the first person to correctly pick the player that hits a home run today will win $50 courtesy of Action Network. Last week we had a winner. Manny Machado hit a home run last Wednesday. Only one guess per person, please. So please do not spam the chat. We have our producer behind the scenes documenting your selection. So once you get that pick in there, we will take care of it. Let's go to best bets. Anthony DeBundo, why don't you start us off here, please?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Cubs in the first 5 innings, minus 115. FanDuel right now, you can get that. This is more just a fade of Jose Quintana. He's actually been pretty good, managed to avoid disaster this year. He's pitched to a 3.66 ERA, but I'm not really buying that lasting for particularly long. He's actually got the lowest strikeout minus walk percentage of his career. He doesn't get as many strikeouts as he used to. His stuff is significantly worse. And he's just not pitching in the zone anymore. He throws, traditionally his zone rate was in the 40s, right around league average. This year he's down to 34.9%. So he's getting a lot of chases and swings and misses on pitches outside of the zone. The Cubs actually are about league average when it comes to chasing pitches outside of the zone. So I don't think they're going to chase too much here. They do have some big right-handed bats with a lot of power. I think they can get to Quintana. And his xERA, 4.98, indicates that he's a much worse pitcher than perhaps the market is suggesting here. And his barrel rate's still not good either. So he is getting barreled, and he's not really getting soft contact. And so I don't really trust Quintana here. Justin Steele has actually been pretty impressive. xERA 3.39, only been barreled twice all season. His ability to avoid hard contact, much more impressive. And I know everybody wants to buy into the Pirates youth movement. And, it was fun the first couple of days, but the last 2 days between Eichhoff and Quintana, we're dealing with some very bad pitchers. And so I'm going to take the Cubs in the first 5 innings. Do want to avoid the Cubs back end of the bullpen if I can. It's been very questionable, although Robertson has been better.
Yeah, 3 very lopsided games in this series. It is a getaway day for Chicago. In Pittsburgh, 12-1, 7-1, and then a win last night for the Cubs, 14-5, and kind of a wild series. Zerillo, best bet for us today on this Thursday.
Yeah, I'm with Anthony on that Cubs first 5. I like that to minus 115. I mean, off the bat, I absolutely hate the slate, but sometimes you get your best days on the slates that you hate the most. So never know what's in store for you. And I hate betting the Oakland A's, but I am taking them here in the first 5 innings. It's plus 105 currently at MGM. I believe that's the only plus money number available. I like it down to minus 102. Bet it last night at plus 110, so the line has definitely moved their direction. Frankie Montas been about a half run better this year than Robbie Ray. We've seen some different stuff from Ray in his recent starts, throwing his sinker more frequently. So he's making some tweaks to his pitch mix, and he's actually pitched a little bit better, but around 3.25 expected indicators for Montas, 3.75, the levels for Robbie Ray this year. And Oakland is also in their superior offensive split. They've been 30% below average against right-handed pitching this year, just 11% below against lefties. So with their ace on the mound, this is Oakland's best opportunity to get a win at home. I believe they're trending closer to about 8-30 in their home games. They've been absolutely miserable as a home team and especially as a home underdog. But the A's first 5 to minus 102 is bet for me, and I'm also on their full game line as well.
Okay, very good. If you're just hopping in, we do have a contest going today. We do this every week, the home run contest. Simply choose one player that will homer, and the first person to correctly pick a dinger will win $50, courtesy of Action Network. Again, last week we had a winner in Manny Machado, so we're hoping to keep the streak going. So please, someone pick one correctly, and if you do so, you'll win $50. The first person to guess, of course, and there's 7 day games, so keep that in mind. And only one guess per person, please. So we'll keep an eye on that in the chat. We move now to fading the public. In the Action Network app, we can see the public loves the Dodgers going up against the Reds. Dodgers and Reds, they were close last night. Dodgers pulled away 91% of the bets, 91% of the money on LA. Zerillo, are we fading the public?
We are today. You know, Hunter Green has been very Jekyll and Hyde this season, and he's underperformed his ERA pretty drastically. ERA over 5, expected ERA and Sierra both around 3.7. His expected FIP closer to 4. And in his last 4 starts in June, all in June, 3.92 ERA, 3.12 expected FIP. So he's been a little bit better lately. He's underperformed his ERA for the full season, and that could be why the Reds are bad in general, and the Dodgers are one of the top World Series contenders, but it could be why they're getting a little bit underrated, more so today than they should be. Projected both of these lines, first 5 in full game, closer to plus 165. I like their first 5 line down to plus 178, their full game line down to plus 185. And in Green's last 2 starts, worth noting, he's thrown his slider over 50% of the time. So he's actually using his slider to set up his fastball instead of the other way around, pitching a little bit backwards. So curious to see if he keeps that going. But the Reds definitely the value side in this matchup, especially with the public all in on the Dodgers. I actually should mention I also like the over 9 in this game as well. Bit of a contrarian over with 2 top-line pitchers.
Okay, what do you think, DeBundo with Kershaw on the mound for the Dodgers?
The only thing that scares me here is that Green is an extreme fly ball pitcher, and that's just a big issue in that ballpark. And I think that he's going to always have kind of that problem so long as he's pitching in Cincinnati. But I love guys with good stuff, and of the starters with the best stuff in baseball this year, he ranks 3rd behind only Burns and Spencer Strider. And so when you consider that, that's Eno Sarris's model. When you consider that, I like betting on that kind of ability to swing and miss bats in the long term. And I know he'll have walk issues. The Dodgers lineup is not the same without Mookie Betts. It's a little bit weaker today. And so I would lean toward the Reds. I think this is a high variance game, though. If you like the Reds, I know our podcast producer, Matt Mitchell, loves the reverse run line. I think if Green has his best stuff and he's really dominant, this could be a big Reds day. And so I would lean toward the Reds and consider if you really want some daytime action, maybe a little Reds reverse run line action at home, a getaway day for the Dodgers. They've already won the series. This is a classic kind of, as Zerillo says, pros versus Joes kind of game. And we're always going to be on the big underdog, it seems like, in this situation. That being said, I'm also, I think, 0-4 betting the Reds against the Dodgers this year. And so I'm kind of tired of losing money in this series between these 2 teams.
Fair enough. Way to get that in there at the end. I mean, like you said, getaway day. It's a long trip. Dodgers are at Atlanta for another series. It's a big series, of course, knowing how well the Braves have been playing, and they got to play the Rockies on the trip. Say it again.
Big rematch from last year with the NLCS last
year. And they've got no day off on this trip.
Right.
Like they're going straight through. They're plowing right through here. So it
6-0 against the Reds this season.
There you go.
It's all they're due, as they say.
It's all stacking up. It's like we shouldn't have invited you on the show, because now with you mentioning what you said about you fading the Dodgers or picking the Reds to beat the Dodgers, I don't like it. But we'll be all right. We'll see. I'm teasing. Let's go to the Action app now to our the Pro Props. Again, it's a really great product, the Action Network app. We're certainly biased, but worth the investment. You can find out some neat tricks. And here on the player prop section of the Action Network app in our pro model, Kyle Wright, under 5.5 strikeouts, has the highest edge today. The app projects him for just 5 strikeouts. Zerillo, do you have a thought on that? And also, what is your prop for today's 10-game slate?
Yeah, Kyle Wright has really impressed me this season, so I'd have a tough time betting his under, but if our pro model gives it a 10 out of 10 grade, I have a tough time going against that too. So a pass for me on that prop, but certainly rarely go against our pro model in terms of my bets. As for my favorite prop, something we don't project, but something that I do like, Luis Arraez of the Twins, over 1.5 total bases. That's minus 114 at FanDuel. This guy's quickly become one of my favorite players, and he absolutely crushes right-handed pitching. 188 WRC plus. Is tied for 3rd in baseball, tied with Aaron Judge, ahead of Mike Trout, ahead of Jose Ramirez. Hitting .399 against right-handed pitching, and he's averaging almost half of a base per plate appearance against right-handed pitching. So over the course of a full game, even if he's getting a plate appearance against the lefty, you could still project him for almost 2 total bases. minus 114 at FanDuel, over 1.5 total bases for Luis Arraez, my favorite prop.
How about you, Debundo? Any thoughts quickly on Kyle Wright before you give your prop? I think you're going to the K prop market as well.
Yeah, there was a time when Kyle Wright's K prop was like 3.5, 4.5 earlier this year. And I remember we definitely had some overs back in the day at the beginning of the season. And I think this is a classic example of kind of the market just overreacting a little bit. And now, I trust Kerner's projections, and having him overvalued at 5.5 doesn't surprise me that much when you consider that the Giants are a lineup. They will strike out a decent amount, but also an above average lineup that he's facing today. In terms of Kyle Wright, don't really have a strong opinion there. Kind of agree with Sean. Wouldn't want to go under, but wouldn't bet the over either. I'm going to Joe Musgrove, under 5.5 strikeouts at plus 118. Philadelphia has changed their approach quite a bit this year compared to last year. They're swinging more on pitches outside of the zone. They've been trying to be more aggressive. And the result is that they have a decent amount of strikeout hitters in the middle of their lineup: Rhys Hoskins, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos. But they're not striking out all that much. They're right around league average in terms of strikeouts. Musgrove, I can't seem to figure out where he's getting this 26% strikeout rate from. He's relying a lot on called strikes. If you look at his whiff rates, they're right around league average. His first pitch strike rate, right around league average. And his zone contact rate is right around league average as well. But he's getting a lot of called strikes. I don't think he's going to get as many of those today. And I'm going with the Phillies to get to him a little bit, and taking the under 5.5 strikeouts at plus 118.
Okay, once again, folks, if you're just joining in, we appreciate you being with us on Payoff Pitch, exclusively available on the Action Network YouTube channel. We have a contest going for you. It's a weekly thing, so those of you that have been here every week, you're used to it by now. Anthony can't win. We've made that clear as well. He may give a pick, which we'll get to in a moment here, but he is not eligible for the $50. You can win if you correctly guess the first player to hit a home run on today's slate. 10 games, 7-day games. One's already started, Rockies and Marlins. So at this point, 6-day games remaining. But the first person to correctly guess a player to hit a home run, you win $50, courtesy of Action Network. One guess, one per person. So no need to spam. We will see it and we will log it. With that being said, Anthony Debundo, you're actually on a player that is going to be stepping up to the plate very shortly, of the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, I'm going Marcell Ozuna. He was cashed for me on Dinger Tuesday, and I'm going back to him on Thursday now. I do like this matchup he has with Wood of the Giants. 14.3% barrel rate. That's about what we saw from him in 2019 and 2020. He did have a little bit of a dip in his barrel rate last year, but he tends to be a very streaky hitter. He goes through these prolonged slumps, and then he comes out of them, and then he hits everything. Did have some great at-bats last night in the Braves. Unfortunate for some comeback win last night. Brutal. But I do think he's seeing the ball really well right now, and when he gets on a roll, he's incredibly hot. So I'm going to ride him. Last week I rode Rhys Hoskins, and he actually hit one off the top of the wall in the deepest part of the ballpark at Citizens Bank Park. And if he had hustled, may have gotten an inside the park home run out of it. But because he wasn't, he only ended up with a triple. Very disappointing, but I was very upset.
What is the deepest part of Citizens Bank? It's really not that big of a ballpark.
Yeah, it's 409 so it's 401 to dead center, and then they have like a tiny little like cutout, and it's the tallest wall, and it's 409
but
right
of course
next to dead center, and that's exactly the wall that he hit it off.
And that's where he hit it, of course. Right?
Anywhere else, it's gone.
Anywhere else, it's gone. Bummer. I remember you tweeting about this.
Not that I would have won the contest anyway.
Right, exactly. Right. That's good. That's good that you're aware of that. Zerillo, if you had to give out a pick today to maybe win a fake $50, who would your pick be?
Well, he won't be the first player to homer because it is a night game, but I do like Anthony Santander of the Orioles. Switch hitter. Always like guys who are switch hitters because they have neutral splits, so you can't play matchups against them with relief pitchers, but he has 4 in his last 7 games, definitely heating up. Anthony and I will touch on the Orioles in a little bit as well, but I think this is a good matchup for him against Johnny Cueto. Plus 420 at FanDuel. I did throw a little bit of that on Anthony Santander.
Very good. Okay, so again, get involved in the home run contest. We see your selections in the chat, so if you haven't done so already, pick someone to homer today, and you have a chance to win $50, courtesy of Action Network. Let's go to our game of the day. And again, not much to choose from. 10-game slate. Still a pretty solid slate, but this is a good one. Yankees-Astros, one of the better games on the slate today. 2 very public teams, 2 teams that are leading their respective divisions. Perhaps 2 teams we'll see in the ALCS. Who knows? What's the play here, Sean Zerillo, for Yankees-Stros?
I like the full game under 8.5, still minus 114 at FanDuel. I'd bet that up to minus 117. Projected this total at 7.8. Wind blowing in a little bit in Yankee Stadium. Framber Valdez won't really matter for him because he has a 67% ground ball rate, highest in baseball. And Jameson Taillon, his ground ball rate closer to 45%, but he actually generates a ton of pop-ups around 15% of the time. So either a ground ball or a pop-up 60% of the time for Taillon. Ground balls and pop-ups over 70% of the time for Framber. And even if either of them get it put in play, the wind is blowing in. So total projected for me at 7.8, like the full game under 8.5. I'd probably even consider the under 8 at plus money.
Astros are a slight favorite, plus 105. I'm seeing now on DraftKings. Anthony, what is your angle if you had to pick one today for Stros Yankees? And the Yankees are home, by the way.
Yeah, I'm on Houston, both halves, full game,
Okay.
first 5. I love Framber. I've come around on him a little bit. I do worry about the walks. This is a recurring issue that when Framber struggles, he tends to struggle with walks, and that's always a concern against this Yankees lineup, which is pretty patient, but they have been swinging more as well. They've had a concerted effort to swing more and especially at lower pitches. And so I think they'll go after Framber and try to get to him early. But again, like Sean mentioned, 67% ground ball rate. The thing with Taillon that concerns me, I know the wind is blowing in, but he's looking at significant career lows in both home run fly ball rate. He's at 7%. League average is around 11. He's traditionally been about a 12% guy. And so there is some regression coming there. And his strand rate is up well over the league average as well. And over his career averages up over 80%. And so I think he's been a bit fortunate, much like a lot of this Yankees pitching staff. Pitching with runners on base, they've been pretty well to do and pretty running it unsustainably well, as they've done in every other category. They've won 75% of their games for a reason. But I'm taking Houston here. I think they have a pretty comparable lineup, but I like the pitching matchup and the ability to keep the ball on the ground against the sluggers of the Yankees, the barrel legends of the Yankees.
Yeah, Zerillo taking an under with this team at home is just like you're going to be sweating. I feel like. How do you do this to yourself?
Yankee Stadium actually gets a bad rap. Obviously, you have
does.
that short right field porch, but it is a pitcher's park traditionally, about 2% below league average in terms of the run environment. You get some cheap home runs there, but everything else that's sent into the outfield tends to be caught. So Yankee Stadium, not as much of a hitter's park as most people would think based on that right field porch. It actually tends to play more like a pitcher's park.
It's less than Fenway, right?
Oh, far less. Fenway's about 10% above league average. Yankee Stadium closer to average or even 2%.
Red Sox fans won't tell you that. They'll just say it's a Mickey Mouse Park.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, those people. Speaking of those Yankees, Tyler is in on Stanton to homer today. Very good. Reggie likes Ryan Mountcastle. Very good.
That's my guy too. Love me some Mountcastle.
Let's do it. Okay, so any last selections for the home run contest? Get them in. Before we let you all go, and we mention as well to be sure to download the Action Network app to get the rest of these guys' picks. Smaller slate, as Sean said off the top, might not be his favorite slate, but sometimes those are the slates where you can benefit the most. And all of our MLB analysts, not just Sean and Anthony, they do a great job logging their analysis and picks on the Action Network app. Before we go, let's go around the diamond. One pick from each of you before we go. Just a couple sentences. Zerillo, you first. What do you got? One last play for the people.
Going back to that Oakland-Seattle game, full game under 7. I also like the first 5 under 3.5, but I projected these totals closer to 3 and 6.5 respectively. Oakland just can't score.
All right, Anthony, what do you got?
Orioles plus 135 on the road against Johnny Cueto. Cueto, unreal outing last week. Don't think he's going to be able to repeat that. You look at his home run fly ball rate. You look at his stuff plus 77, well below league average. They pulled him off the street. Good for Johnny, but I think Baltimore's a little underrated. And I've liked what I've seen from Mr. Kremer.
One thing Anthony didn't mention, the Orioles had a shortened game last night, didn't have to use the bullpen, and the White Sox bullpen has gotten stretched thin the past few days in that series with Toronto. So Orioles bullpen actually very underrated as well. They got some really live arms in there.
Jeremy jumps in with a pick. Jeremy Buxton not in the lineup today for the Twins. So maybe want to get somebody else. Just trying to help a friend here. So
Buxton being load managed has been really interesting this season. Not for bettors.
Not for bettors. Okay. That's going to do it. Great show. Again, 10-game slate, a lot of afternoon games. So enjoy the afternoon baseball on this Thursday. As I mentioned, download the Action Network app. You can find both Anthony Dabbundo and Sean Zerillo, their picks, their analysis, all of the data available in the app, as well as our other MLB betting analysts. For those guys, Brendan Glasheen, thanks for watching Payoff Pitch, exclusively available on the Action Network YouTube page. We'll join you again next